What happens when that governor mixes those two ingredients together and says, I'm now using the National Guard to enforce my doctrine? Martial law coming to a town near you. Well, guys, we are in the middle of history. We've been in the middle of history. It is uncharted waters. It is unfamiliar territory. And already, we've just kissed the surface of this thing. We're not that far into it. And already I'm seeing stuff that really bothers me, worries me. Guys, we're talking about martial law. What looks like martial law being implemented. Now, it's not being called martial law. It is not declaring martial law and then enforcing it. What we're seeing is like a test run. We're seeing these governors of these states are declaring a state of emergency and then giving themselves powers to operate in a way that violates your rights, your constitutionally protected rights. We're being told to quarantine. Now, don't get me wrong. I think quarantine's a great idea. I think if you are able to do it, you absolutely should do it. And we've been doing it. We've been staying away from people. We have been not going out, leaving the farm. We're not doing what we normally do, the daily stuff, right? The normal behavior out and amongst public. We're not doing it. You guys know, if you've been watching this channel, we shut down the basketball season over a month ago because we saw this thing coming and said you got to stay away from people. It's the only way this is going to fix this thing. When you're watching it in China and you started to see the numbers and you started to see what was taking place, quarantine was the only answer to what was going on. It just took government a month longer to make that decision, right? Because the ship's got to start sinking before you tell people to get off of it. So what we're seeing is these governors giving themselves powers or just declaring that they have the powers. The shelter in place orders. They're being called orders. Nobody's citing any state code that gives them legal standing to do it. Nobody's citing any constitutional code that says they can do it. They're just doing it and seeing how people respond. They're called orders, yet they seem to be suggestive. Yet states are starting to arrest people for not following these orders. They're starting to fine people if they don't do it. They're talking about coming up with ways to shut down your business, physically shutting it down, be it the power, the gas, water, whatever it takes to shut down your business if you don't willingly do it. And what is it that they're asking you to do? For most people, they're saying, well, your business doesn't matter, so we need you to shut it down. Not necessarily change the way you operate to minimize exposure. They're just saying, just shut it down. They're bankrupting this country. They're shutting down private business in this country. Is there some sort of a plan to make everybody whole at the end of this? Is government just going to cut checks to everyone? Are they going to right all the wrongs? Are they going to make up for all the losses? Is government just going to come and bail everybody out? All you private business owners, small business owners that are being negatively affected by this? Meanwhile, we're being told, don't go to work, don't go into public, don't travel. Some of you might not even know that you have the right to travel. Traveling freely and unmolested is a right. It's a constitutionally protected right. So for them to just say, you can't go out and drive, you can't be out, go to your home. Where does that authority come from? And under what threat of force, right? Because that's what it all boils down to, is threat of force. How far are these governors willing to go to make you comply? Now, as I said before, guys, I think that it's a good thing. I think we as neighbors, if we can do it, we should social distance. We should stay away from each other. To a point. I don't think we need government trying to force us to do it. I don't think we need the barrel of a gun pointed at us to make sure that we do it. If you guys have watched my channel, you know I'm not a statist. You know that I think we can all make decisions for ourselves and be good Americans, good little boys and girls, without daddy threatening to put us in timeout. I don't believe we need government to hold our hand, but you're going to see there's plenty of people in this situation now that want government to hold their hand. They're screaming for, shut it down, make people quarantine, force it. Force them to shut down their businesses. If you don't want to get sick, don't go out. If you think that your job poses a threat to your health, then don't go. It's like we all can't make adult decisions. We're all children, and we need the adult government to tell us how to act. If you don't like it for you, don't do it. Don't worry about what other people are doing. If they're out getting themselves sick and spreading it to other people who don't care, doesn't concern you, does it? You should never be in favor of heavy-handed government, ever. Especially when it violates rights, guys. So here we are staring at this martial law thing. The states that have declared a state of emergency have National Guard deployed. They are building. They are assisting, right? That's the job of the National Guard, is to assist, right, in a state of emergency when needed. But when you couple that with governors who think they have unlimited powers, and frankly can give unconstitutional orders that you're supposed to abide by, and make no mistake, they're hoping that you just abide by them, guys, right? One governor and a group of National Guard and a group of law enforcement do not even come close to outnumbering we the people. Keep that in mind. But when you have them, National Guard in state, and you have a governor giving unconstitutional orders, what happens when that governor mixes those two ingredients together and says, I'm now using the National Guard to enforce my doctrine? You don't want to comply and stay at home? We're going to stop you on the streets. I think you're going to see state quarantines. I'm speculating. I'm role-playing in my head what happens when this escalates. What happens when it continues down the path we're continuing? We've been told to not go to work. We've been told to stay in our own homes. What happens when those people don't comply and the numbers continue to grow of the sick and the dying and the unemployed and the now broke and the now hungry? As those numbers start to increase, crime will increase. Force will need to increase, right? So what happens when all the ingredients for the cake are all in state? Is the governor going to bake that cake? Guys, you need to be worried about it. You need to be paying attention. It's a touchy subject to say don't comply yet it's smart to comply. You know, when you need to comply, it's good. When you're ordered to comply, it sets a bad precedent. No matter how bad this thing gets, no matter how much of a state of emergency this country is in, your rights cannot be suspended. They cannot be taken from you. You could give them up, right? You could allow someone to take them from you. But that's it. And it only works if we bend the knee. It only works if we bend over and kiss the ring. Be watching, guys, because this thing is going to escalate. National Guard's in state help in these places now. But what happens if that order is given? Will they comply? Will we start to see checkpoints at the borders of these states if they lock down the states? Will those checkpoints then grow to around the city? You have to have essential worker papers to be traveling. Who came up with that? Who made those laws? You have to have an essential worker papers to be traveling the roads right now? Who deems you essential? A governor? You look at the governor of Washington, the guy's trying to shut down businesses that don't align with his political party. Gun stores, yeah, you're not essential. Liquor stores, you're not essential. Those are Americans who are working to feed their families. But you're shutting down gun shops because you don't like guns. So make no mistake, guys, they're abusing power. And they'll abuse the power. They'll continue to abuse it. It's nothing new. Whenever they get power, they want more power. And they'll try to take it. And at this time right now, be an emergency, expect them to try and take power. Expect them to take advantage of what's going on.